Don't tolerate these 6 behaviors from anyone, not even family. Boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and me simultaneously. Prentice Hemphill. In today's world, especially within families, love is often confused with sacrifice, silence, and self-abandonment. But what if true love includes respect, truth, and honoring your inner peace? In this episode of Spiritual Wisdom, inspired by Carl Jung's teachings, we'll explore 6 toxic behaviors you should never tolerate, not even from those closest to you. Because spiritual growth requires courage, clarity, and the ability to say, "This is not love." As you watch, ask yourself, have I been tolerating pain in the name of loyalty? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your voice might empower someone else to choose self-respect today. 1. Emotional manipulation. Emotional manipulation doesn't always look aggressive. Sometimes it comes dressed as love, a kind of love that's conditional. If you loved me, you'd do this, or you're disappointing me again. Over time, you begin to shrink yourself, not because you want to, but because you feel like you have to. You say yes to things that don't feel right. You doubt your instincts. You silence your voice, all to keep the peace. But peace built on guilt is not peace. It's self-abandonment. Carl Jung called this psychic possession, when another person's unresolved emotions hijack your own. In families, this is especially common. We grow up conditioned to equate love with obedience, loyalty with silence. We're told that family comes first, no matter what. But what if putting family first constantly means putting yourself last? Many people live their whole lives playing roles they never chose. The obedient son, the perfect daughter, the responsible sibling. These roles come with unspoken contracts. Stay small so we can feel big, or carry our emotional baggage so we don't have to face it. When you try to step outside that role, even slightly, guilt rushes in like a wave. You start wondering if you're the problem. That's not love. That's programming. Take the example of a woman in her 30s who finally got a promotion at work. It was everything she had worked for, but instead of celebrating, her parents asked if the job would take her away from the family. When she tried to explain how important this was for her, she was met with silence and passive disappointment. No shouting, no drama. Just subtle emotional withdrawal was a signal that she had stepped out of line. And so, she started questioning herself again. Was she selfish? Was she abandoning her roots? Or was she just finally choosing herself? This is how emotional manipulation operates. Quietly, persistently, and always with an undercurrent of guilt. Carl Jung understood how dangerous this could be for the soul. He taught that the true self cannot emerge while it's entangled in someone else's shadow. When your life becomes an unconscious reaction to someone else's expectations, you are no longer living, you're performing. The moment you recognize this pattern is the moment everything changes. You start noticing how certain people drain your energy, how your stomach tightens before certain conversations, how you leave family gatherings feeling smaller than when you arrived. These are not coincidences. They are signals your intuition trying to wake you up. Awareness is painful, but it is also the beginning of freedom. You don't need to explain your boundaries. You don't need to justify your healing. And you certainly don't need to carry the emotional weight of people who refuse to carry their own. Jung didn't tell us to burn bridges. He told us to open our eyes, to see clearly. Because once you see the truth, it becomes harder and harder to lie to yourself. And the truth is, Being loyal to others should never require betrayal of yourself. If you find yourself shrinking to maintain someone else's comfort, you're not at peace. You're in survival. And you deserve more than survival. You deserve to grow, to express, to stand tall in your truth without apology. Healing from emotional manipulation isn't about blaming others. It's about choosing to reclaim your voice, your power, and your path, even if it means disappointing the people who taught you to abandon yourself. Have you ever realized when someone's love came with conditions? If you've broken free from emotional manipulation, share your story in the comments to inspire others. If you're still finding your voice, comment, "I'm ready to reclaim my truth," and let's heal together, one step at a time. 2. Suppression of your true self. They say they love you, but only if you stay small. Only if you fit their image. Only if you silence your difference. That kind of love feels tight, like a costume stitched from someone else's fear. It's subtle, almost invisible at first. A comment here, a sigh there. Don't act like that. You're making us look bad. These aren't just words. They're emotional chains. And when they come from family, they cut deeper. Because we're taught that family is supposed to be your safe space, not the place where your soul starts to shrink. But Carl Jung saw through this illusion. He taught that every human being has an inner calling toward individuation, the sacred journey of becoming whole. Yet this journey is often blocked not by enemies, but by those closest to us. Why? Because your evolution threatens their comfort. Your truth mirrors the parts of themselves they've abandoned. And instead of celebrating your light, they try to dim it, not out of hatred, but out of fear. The family unit becomes a mold, and if you don't fit, you feel like a problem. Maybe they try to change the way you speak, dress, dream. Maybe they say you're too sensitive, too intense, too much. But what they're really saying is, we don't know how to love you as you are. And so, you learn to hide. You trade pieces of your soul for temporary acceptance. You perform. You conform. And all the while, your inner self quietly suffers. Jung warned us, the greatest tragedy is not in being rejected, but in rejecting ourselves to be loved. When you deny your truth to make others feel better, you abandon your own becoming. That's not love. That's emotional manipulation wrapped in tradition. Real love creates space. It says, be all of you, even if I don't understand it. It doesn't guilt you into silence or shame you into sameness. It honors your growth, even when it changes the dynamic. Spiritual wisdom teaches that loyalty without authenticity is bondage. You can love your family and still refuse to betray yourself. You can honor where you came from without staying where you no longer belong. Boundaries don't mean you're ungrateful. They mean you're awake. And when you finally stop apologizing for your light, you begin to see who really supports your growth and who was only invested in your compliance. So if your authenticity threatens their comfort, don't shrink. Shine brighter, not out of rebellion, but out of reverence for the self you were always meant to become. Because when you walk in your truth, even if you walk alone, you walk in freedom. And no relationship, not even family, is worth the cost of losing your soul. If you're ready to reclaim your authenticity and no longer shrink to meet others' expectations, comment below. I give myself permission to be fully me. Your journey to wholeness begins the moment you choose truth over approval. 3. Constant criticism disguised as concern. Some family members speak in a way that cuts you down, yet they label it as love. They say it's honesty, that it's for your own good, but what it really does is shrink your spirit. The harsh comments, the backhanded compliments, the criticism disguised as concern, they don't build you up. They quietly break you down. And because it comes from someone close, you start to believe it. You start to carry their voice as if it were your own, turning it into self-doubt. But that voice is not your truth. It's a reflection of their own unhealed pain. Carl Jung called this the shadow, the parts of ourselves we refuse to accept, so we unconsciously project them onto others. When your parent, sibling, or relative harshly judges your choices, your personality, or your path, it's often their own suppressed fears speaking. Maybe they never had the courage to chase their dreams, so they call you reckless for chasing yours. Maybe they were taught to abandon themselves to please others, so they shame you for setting boundaries. It's not about you. It's about what they haven't faced within themselves. This is why spiritual awakening is so essential. It's not just about peace or positivity. It's about clarity. It's about waking up to the fact that much of the criticism you've received was never really yours to carry. Spiritual awakening teaches you to stop inheriting emotional debts from people who never paid their own. It gives you the courage to see through the mask of concern and recognize the control underneath it. Because concern uplifts, control belittles. And knowing the difference is the beginning of freedom. They may say it's just how they are, that you're too sensitive, that you need to toughen up. But you're not too sensitive. You're simply waking up to energy that no longer resonates with your soul. You're starting to trust your inner truth more than the fear-based noise around you. And that's power. Because once you stop internalizing their shadows, you stop living a life shaped by guilt and start building a life shaped by authenticity. You don't have to argue with them. You don't have to explain yourself. You only need to silently reclaim your identity, one truth at a time. Love them if you want, but do it from a place that doesn't cost you your peace. Honor their journey, but stop making their unhealed wounds your emotional responsibility. That's not love. That's self-sacrifice disguised as loyalty. When you begin to see clearly, everything changes. You no longer bend to please those who only feel powerful when you feel small. You no longer confuse emotional manipulation with care. You simply stand in your truth, calmly and fully, and in doing so, you set yourself free, not by changing them, but by refusing to let their pain become your personality. If this message helped you recognize the difference between true concern and hidden criticism, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep uncovering these hidden patterns together. Your voice matters here. 4. Guilt as a tool of control. Guilt is one of the most invisible yet powerful tools of emotional manipulation, especially within families. When someone says, "You never call anymore," or "After all I've done for you," it might sound like concern, but it's often a veiled attempt to control. These aren't invitations for connection. They're pressure points designed to make you feel like you've failed. Carl Jung understood how deeply rooted these emotional tactics can be. He taught that guilt, especially when it comes from those closest to us, has the power to distort our identity and keep us trapped in patterns that don't serve our growth. In daily life, this looks like putting your dreams on hold because you're afraid someone might feel abandoned. It looks like saying yes when you want to say no, just to avoid the heavy silence of someone's disapproval. You might feel selfish for wanting space, cruel for choosing your truth, or ungrateful for not constantly sacrificing yourself. But living for someone else's comfort slowly erases your own soul. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Yet how can you do that if every decision is filtered through the fear of guilt? This guilt is not coming from your conscience, it's coming from emotional conditioning. And here's the hard truth. Many people don't love you in the way you need to be loved. They love you in the way that keeps them comfortable. That's why your growth can feel like betrayal to them. They'll tell you you've changed, as if that's a bad thing. They'll remind you of everything they've done for you, not because they want appreciation, but because they want leverage. But guilt that punishes your freedom is not love. It is control disguised as care. And the more you yield to it, the more you disconnect from your spiritual awakening. Your purpose, your voice, your peace all get drowned in the noise of someone else's expectations. Carl Jung believed that true individuation, the process of becoming your whole self, can only begin when you break free from inherited emotional patterns. That includes guilt-based loyalty. Breaking the guilt cycle doesn't mean you stop loving people. It means you stop betraying yourself to earn love. It means you stop shrinking to fit into someone else's comfort zone. It means you start living not out of obligation, but out of authenticity. Choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's sacred. And every time you say no to manipulation, you say yes to healing. You are not here to carry the emotional weight of those who refuse to carry their own. You are not responsible for the happiness of those who use guilt to bind you. Love is not a debt, and your life is not a currency to be spent on other people's approval. Let go of guilt, step into your truth, and remember, you are not wrong for choosing freedom. You are finally waking up. If this message spoke to your soul, let it be known. Guilt will no longer control your story. Comment below. I choose my peace over their guilt. And if you're ready to keep awakening to your truth, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another moment of clarity. 5. Verbal and emotional abuse. Normalized. Excuses like, "That's just how they are," have been used for far too long to justify verbal and emotional abuse, especially within families. These statements don't come from love. They come from denial, passed down like family recipes. They protect dysfunction, not people. Yelling, shaming, manipulation, and gaslighting, even without physical violence, are still abuse. And when these behaviors are brushed off or normalized, they become invisible chains that trap generations in emotional prisons. The damage isn't just felt in the moment, it shapes identity, self-worth, and our idea of love. Carl Jung warned us about the wounded inner child, the part of us that unconsciously returns to the very environments that once hurt us because they feel familiar. If we were raised in households where love was conditional, kindness inconsistent, and peace unstable, we may grow up believing that chaos is normal and mistreatment is love. So we tolerate emotional abuse, not because we like it, but because some part of us learned to survive through it. And in that survival, we lost our sense of what real love actually feels like. Real love respects emotional boundaries. It doesn't humiliate you and then expect you to smile. It doesn't invalidate your feelings, rewrite your memories, or leave you questioning your own mind. Love doesn't demand silence in the face of pain. Spiritual wisdom teaches that true connection honors both closeness and space it nourishes, not drains. The moment someone repeatedly crosses your emotional boundaries, and justifies it with, "I'm your parent," or "You're too sensitive," is the moment you must realize they're not protecting the bond, they're protecting their power. When emotional abuse is normalized in the name of family, loyalty becomes a weapon. You're told you must forgive, must accept, must keep the peace, but at what cost? At the cost of your peace, your voice, your identity. Jung said, "What you resist not only persists, but will grow in size." The more we pretend emotional harm isn't happening, the more it festers. And the deeper it roots itself in the soul, manifesting as anxiety, people-pleasing, self-abandonment, or worse, passing it down to those who come after us. The healing begins when you choose clarity over comfort. When you dare to say, "This is not okay," even if your voice shakes. When you realize that protecting your inner child matters more than preserving toxic tradition. You are not ungrateful for setting boundaries. You are not cruel for walking away from repeated disrespect. You are not wrong for saying, "Enough." Emotional wounds require more than time. They require truth. And the truth is, even if it comes from family, abuse is still abuse. Let spiritual wisdom guide you back to yourself, not to the version molded by guilt or fear, but to the one who knows their worth, who understands that love never has to hurt, and who finally stops calling emotional pain normal. Don't forget to subscribe for more spiritual wisdom on breaking free from toxic cycles and reclaiming your emotional power. If this message resonates, share it and let others know. Abuse, even in the name of love, is never okay. 6. The courage to break the cycle. Staying in toxic family dynamics doesn't just hurt, it rewires your sense of identity. It whispers to you that you're the problem, that the pain is your fault, that love means enduring disrespect in silence. But this isn't love, it's conditioning. And the longer you stay, the deeper that lie embeds itself into your nervous system. You begin to feel guilty for even wanting peace, as if your desire for wholeness is betrayal. But Carl Jung reminds us, healing begins when you stop inheriting and passing on pain. And that begins the moment you choose to break the cycle. You're not selfish for walking away. You're awakening. Choosing yourself isn't a rejection of others. It's a reclamation of the self you lost while trying to be everything for everyone. And when you begin that journey, resistance will come. Family members may lash out, accuse you of being cold, dramatic, or ungrateful. But don't let their projections become your truth. You are not responsible for the emotions people feel when you set a boundary that protects your soul. Pain passed down isn't sacred. Loyalty that demands silence is not love, it's control. You were not born to be a container for generational wounds. You were born to become whole. And that means saying no to the patterns that keep you small, anxious, or invisible. That means honoring the voice inside you that says, "I deserve peace," even if it means walking alone. Because the cost of staying is your spirit, and no relationship, not even with blood, is worth losing yourself. The real act of courage is not surviving toxic love. It's walking away from it before it destroys the parts of you still capable of healing. That choice is where spiritual awakening begins, when you finally stop negotiating your worth to keep the family system stable. You don't heal by going numb, staying silent, or pretending everything is fine. You heal by feeling the truth, grieving the illusion, and stepping into the unknown, even if your voice trembles. Choosing self-respect is not an act of ego. It's an act of spiritual intelligence. because the soul knows what the mind denies, that you are not here to suffer for the comfort of others. You are here to become. And becoming often means releasing those who only loved the version of you that kept quiet, stayed small, and never asked for more. Healing doesn't require revenge. It requires release. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say goodbye. If this message stirred something deep within you, declare your breakthrough in the comments. I choose healing. I choose peace. I break the cycle. And if you felt seen by this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. More truth and healing are on the way. Remember, setting boundaries isn't about rejection. It's about self-respect. You are not selfish for protecting your peace, even from those closest to you. As Carl Jung once said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. If this message has spoken to your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming videos on healing, transformation, and inner truth. Stay grounded, stay empowered, and always choose yourself with love. Are you an intuitive introvert? Know the signs? INFJ and INTJ. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. Carl Jung. Have you ever felt like you're not just quiet, you're deeply tuned in? Like you can sense things others miss, or feel drained by surface-level conversations? If so, you might be more than just an introvert. You might be an intuitive one. In today's video from Spiritual Wisdom, we're diving into the hidden signs that reveal whether you're an INFJ or INTJ, the rarest and most visionary types of Carl Jung's personality theory. As you listen, reflect on how these insights show up in your life, and don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. Are you beginning to see yourself more clearly? Let's explore this path of inner truth together. Chapter 1. You don't see the world, you decode it. You don't just look at the world, you decode it. While others take things at face value, you're scanning for patterns, absorbing energy, sensing what's unspoken. You feel the undercurrents beneath every word and gesture, picking up the truth behind the mask. Carl Jung called this introverted intuition a rare inner faculty that doesn't rely on logic alone, but on deep symbolic knowing. This is what gives you the uncanny ability to recognize what others miss, to anticipate outcomes, to connect dots that haven't even been drawn yet. You walk into a room, and before a single word is said, you already know who's at peace and who's pretending. You sense shifts in energy as clearly as others see color. Someone may smile, but you can feel their exhaustion beneath it. Their words may sound fine, but their energy betrays sorrow. That's why people often feel seen when they're with you, not because you ask the right questions, but because you already feel the answers forming before they speak. Your brain isn't just processing data, it's mapping meaning. You see behind the scenes, beyond the surface, and into the heart of what's really going on. In everyday life, this shows up constantly. You may be out with friends, and everything appears normal, but something feels wrong. There's a silence too sharp, a laugh too hollow, a glance that lingers too long. While others carry on, unaware, your inner world is already alert, sorting through signals others can't even detect. You often can't explain how you know, you just do. And more often than not, You're right. This is what makes you both powerful and misunderstood. People may call you intense or too much, when really, you're simply connected on a deeper level. Carl Jung understood this. He saw that intuitive introverts like INFJs and INTJs operate through a different kind of intelligence, one rooted in internal perception rather than external stimulation. You think in layers, perceive in metaphors, and reflect constantly. You don't react instantly because you're processing meaning, weighing intention, feeling energy. Your quiet isn't emptiness, it's depth. Your pause isn't hesitation, it's insight. And yes, this depth can feel isolating. You might question yourself, feel overwhelmed by the emotional noise of the world, or carry burdens you can't explain. But this is the cost of seeing what others don't. Your intuition is not a weakness, it's a soul compass. In a world driven by speed and distraction, your stillness and inner clarity are revolutionary. You are not here to blend in. You're here to understand what's hidden, to name what's unspoken, to bring truth into light. This isn't just a personality type. It's the architecture of your soul. You are wired to perceive meaning, to sense the future, to guide others through inner sight. You are not fragile. You are finely tuned. And your presence brings spiritual wisdom into a world desperate for depth. Have you ever sensed something no one else could explain, like reading the energy in a room, or feeling someone's truth before they spoke a word? If so, share your story in the comments so others can learn from your intuitive experiences. If not, comment, I will observe deeper, and let's explore the unseen world together. Chapter 2. Solitude feeds you more than social validation. You're not antisocial, you're selectively social. You don't avoid people, you simply value quality over quantity. Surface-level conversations exhaust you because they lack substance. You're not here to talk about the weather. You're here to talk about the weather inside people's souls. You crave authenticity, depth, and meaning. And when those things are absent, you'd rather be alone than pretend to connect. This isn't rejection, it's refinement. You're tuned in to energy, to truth, to the subtle undercurrents that most people miss. That's not a weakness, it's spiritual wisdom in motion. Your solitude isn't loneliness, it's sacred. It's where your ideas bloom and your spirit breathes. In a world constantly plugged in, you've learned that your greatest power comes from unplugging. The silence doesn't scare you, it feeds you. It's in your quiet moments that your intuition sharpens, that your soul speaks. Others seek validation from the outside, but you seek alignment from within. You understand that peace isn't something to be found in people or places. It's a frequency you cultivate in stillness. In solitude, you don't feel empty. You feel whole. You're not drawn to noise. You're drawn to resonance. While others chase applause, you chase alignment. That's the difference between validation and truth. You won't trade your intuition for popularity. You'd rather walk alone in clarity than join the crowd in confusion. There's something unshakable about someone who trusts their own inner compass. You don't need to be seen to know your worth. You feel your value in how deeply you think, how sensitively you perceive, how purely you love. That's not being sensitive, that's being awake. Your life is not about fitting in. It's about seeing through. You weren't built for surface, you were built for the soul. You notice what's unspoken. You feel energy before words are spoken. You know when someone's smiling, but sad. When something looks right, but feels wrong. This is not paranoia. It's pattern recognition. Carl Jung called it introverted intuition. And for you, it's a superpower. It connects you to layers of life others can't access. It's what makes you visionary, what makes you deep, what makes you different. And yes, being different can be isolating. But for you, isolation isn't exile, it's evolution. You're not lonely. You're preparing. You're refining your vision, protecting your peace, and preserving your energy for those rare moments when real connection finds you. Because you know the truth. Not everyone will understand your silence, but the right people will feel your presence. Not everyone will understand your distance, but the right ones will respect your boundaries. You weren't made to be loud. You were made to be clear. Do you feel the quiet pull of solitude calling you inward? If so, comment below. I choose solitude to affirm your path of inner strength and self-discovery. Let's grow together, one peaceful moment at a time. Chapter 3. You are both the observer and the architect. You are both the observer and the architect of your life. You don't just watch the world unfold. You feel it, sense it, and decode it from a place of quiet depth. While others chase after answers in the noise, you stand still in your silence, not because you're lost, but because you're aligning. Your silence is not absence, it's intention. It's the space where your inner world takes shape, where vision turns into clarity, and clarity turns into design. This isn't overthinking. This is creation from within. You analyze not to react, but to understand. You don't rush to respond because your intuition is working beyond the surface. You're mapping out the emotional undercurrents, noticing the energies that most people overlook. Carl Jung once wrote, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." That's exactly what you do. You awaken through observation. You feel the shift in a room before a word is spoken. You sense the truth behind the smile. You hear the meaning behind the silence. This isn't just about being introverted. It's about carrying a depth that doesn't need to explain itself. You don't lead with volume. You lead with presence. You don't command attention. You draw it with stillness. You navigate life with a spiritual compass, quietly realigning the path not just for yourself, but for those around you. Your decisions are not impulsive. They are precise, rooted in clarity that comes from looking inward. This is not a weakness. It's mastery. Your spiritual awakening didn't come from noise. It came from noticing, from staying quiet enough to hear your soul speak, from realizing that being misunderstood is not a flaw. It's often a sign that you see more than others are ready to acknowledge. You're not intense because you're broken. You're intense because your energy holds depth. And not everyone is prepared to meet you there. As an intuitive introvert, whether INFJ or INTJ, your power lies in the unseen. You are the one who reads between the lines, feels beyond the obvious, and thinks beyond the moment. You don't just witness reality, you reshape it. Not through control, but through alignment. Not through force, but through vision. While the world speeds up, you slow down. While others shout, you whisper the truth. And in that quiet, your spiritual wisdom begins to ripple through everything you touch. Comment below. I am the architect of my reality. If you're ready to step into your power and lead from within. Your silence is not weakness. It's wisdom in motion. Chapter 4. You feel like an old soul in a fast world. You feel like an old soul in a world addicted to speed. While others chase the next trend, you long for silence, meaning, and truth. The fast, shallow pace of modern life doesn't energize you. It exhausts you. It feels like noise, not just around you, but inside you. That's because your soul is wired for depth. You don't just see life as it is, you sense what it could be. You notice the stories behind the eyes, the emotions hiding beneath words, and the subtle energy shifts no one else acknowledges. This isn't random. It's a gift, an intuitive perception that Carl Jung described as introverted intuition, the ability to connect dots that no one else even sees. You don't live on the surface. You live beneath it. You resonate with symbols, metaphors, dreams, things others dismiss as abstract. You're the one who pauses during a conversation because something felt off. The one who feels centuries of wisdom in a single line of poetry. Even as a child, you probably felt older than your peers. You sensed things you couldn't explain. You might have even been told you were too serious or too sensitive, but you weren't. You were attuned. You were connected to something timeless, something Jung called the collective unconscious, a deep inner well of shared human wisdom that speaks in archetypes, patterns, and truths that never expire. In moments of chaos, you withdraw, not because you're weak, but because you're absorbing too much. You step away to process, to protect your inner clarity. You don't thrive in crowded rooms. You thrive in stillness, where thoughts become revelations. You crave conversations that make you feel something, discussions that peel back layers, that challenge your soul, not just your mind. You're not here for performance. You're here for presence. Maybe you felt misunderstood. Maybe the world called you awkward because you didn't play the social game. But Carl Jung believed that these so-called misfits often carry the deepest truths. You weren't born to fit the mold. You were born to break it. You are here to slow the world down, to remind others of the beauty in pausing, in listening, in feeling. The very things the world ignores are the things your soul was designed to bring back into focus. This depth can be isolating, but it's also your superpower. You see storms before they arrive. You sense when someone is hiding pain. You can feel the truth before it's spoken. That's not strangeness. That's spiritual wisdom in action. And even when the world rushes on without noticing, you carry something sacred. The ability to connect the invisible threads that hold meaning together. If you've always felt like an old soul in a fast-moving world, you're not alone. Subscribe to our channel to stay grounded in timeless wisdom, spiritual depth, and soul-centered living. Here, we honor your pace, your truth, and your purpose. Let this be your sacred space in a noisy world. Chapter 5. Your energy is quiet, but magnetic. Your power is not loud, it's deeply magnetic. You don't force your way into conversations or chase attention, yet somehow, people are drawn to you. There's something calming, something grounding in your presence. You don't try to impress, you embody truth. People trust you, often without knowing why, because your energy feels real in a world full of noise and performance. You've arrived at a rare place of inner integration. Your ego no longer drives you. Your shadow no longer hides in the dark. Your soul no longer whispers. It simply is. You've made peace with the contradictions inside you. And now, without needing to prove anything, you radiate calm authority. This isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. A spiritual wisdom that's lived, not preached. You've earned your quiet. Because you've done that inner work, your presence becomes a mirror. For some, it reflects peace. They feel safer, clearer, more whole around you. For others, it reveals what they haven't yet faced in themselves. Some will thank you, others will avoid you, but all will feel you. That's the cost and the beauty of walking in wholeness. You're not just present, you're illuminating. Your silence speaks volumes. It speaks to those who are ready to hear what words can't express. You feel shifts in tone, energy, even silence itself. It's not because you're overly sensitive. It's because you're tuned in. You read people not with your eyes, but with your entire nervous system. That's why you often know when something is off, even if no one says a word. You sense what's hidden. You detect what's unspoken. This sensitivity is your gift, not a weakness, but a finely calibrated spiritual radar. You've stopped trying to fit into spaces that drain you. Small talk feels empty because your soul craves depth. You're not interested in surface-level connections. You want truth, vulnerability, meaning. This isn't because you're difficult. It's because your energy is sacred, and you know it. Protecting it isn't selfish. It's wise. The more aligned you become, the more selective you are with what and who you allow into your world. You don't push, you attract. And what you attract reflects your vibration. That's the quiet magnetism others can't quite explain. They feel calmer in your presence, more seen, more grounded. Not because you're doing anything, but because you've become someone who no longer needs to do. Your very being does the work. You've turned inward, tuned in, and now the outer world bends gently in response. This is spiritual wisdom in its rawest form, rooted, embodied, and invisible to those who only see the surface. You're not here to explain your depth to everyone. You're here to honor it. Let the world feel your presence, not just hear your voice. Your energy has already spoken. If this message resonates with your soul, repeat after me. My quiet energy is powerful. I am aligned, magnetic, and divinely guided. Let this affirmation ground you. And if you felt seen by this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs this energy today. Chapter 6. You crave purpose over popularity. You crave purpose over popularity. And while the world may not always understand that, your soul does. You're not here for fame, for fleeting likes, or shallow recognition. You're here for meaning. While others chase trends, you're drawn to transformation, real, lasting change that leaves people better than it found them. Your value doesn't lie in how loud you are, but in how deeply you feel, how clearly you see, and how fiercely you love the truth. If you're an INFJ, your path often begins in quiet pain, feeling like no one really understands you, like you're always one step removed from the crowd. But that pain becomes power when you use it to heal. You listen between the words. You feel what others hide. Your gift is emotional depth, the ability to enter someone's inner world and bring light to the darkest corners. Your life isn't about success the world can measure. It's about soul healing, spiritual awakening, and emotional transformation. You don't just want peace, you want wholeness for yourself and for everyone you meet. If you're an INTJ, your intuition leads you to systems. You see what's broken and instinctively begin building what should be. While others patch up symptoms, you redesign the blueprint. You're strategic, but it's not cold. It's sacred. You're driven not by ego, but by vision. You want to create things that last, ideas that endure, structures that carry humanity forward. You don't care about impressing the crowd. You care about shaping the future. You are here to be the architect of better worlds. Your energy is quiet, but it is not weak. It hums with purpose. You're not here to entertain the masses. You're here to elevate consciousness. Your life burns not with noise, but with clarity. You see through illusions, feel through masks, and move through life with a knowing that others can't quite name. That is not a flaw. It's a frequency. You weren't born to follow the current. You were born to change its direction. Your intuitive mind, your introverted wisdom is a compass, pointing not toward approval, but toward alignment. You don't need validation. You need vision. And that's exactly what you have. This world doesn't need more noise. It needs more truth. It needs more souls who crave purpose, not popularity, who care more about impact than attention. That is your strength. That is your role. That is spiritual wisdom in action. And even if others don't always see it, feel it, or name it, trust that your inner fire is not here by accident. It is the signal that your spiritual awakening has already begun. Don't forget to subscribe for more spiritual wisdom on living with vision, not validation. Here, we honor those who choose purpose over popularity and impact over applause. If that's you, you're in the right place. Chapter 7. You predict people. You don't just guess what people will do if you feel it long before it happens. While others wait for words or visible signs, you're already tuned into the undercurrents. A subtle shift in tone, a flicker in their eyes, a change in energy that speaks louder than anything said out loud. Carl Jung described this as introverted intuition, a rare form of perception that processes data from the unconscious, connecting dots that others don't even see. You pick up on patterns, rhythms, and behavioral codes without needing conscious effort. It's not magic. It's pattern recognition on a soul-deep level, and it guides your every interaction. This is why social environments can leave you drained, not because of noise, but because of invisible tension. You feel the difference between what someone says and what they really mean. Their smile may be polite, but their energy carries resentment. Their words may seem kind, but underneath you sense competition, bitterness, fear. You're absorbing emotional static the way an antenna picks up signals. And when you don't listen to what your inner radar is telling you, it leaves you emotionally burnt out, confused, or even physically sick. But over time, you've learned to adjust your distance, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Your gift is awareness, and with it comes the responsibility of discernment. You don't cut people off impulsively. You retreat to preserve clarity. You know when someone's presence is costing you more than you can afford energetically. You sense when the room has shifted, even before words confirm it. This is your form of spiritual awakening, not in loud epiphanies, but in subtle recognitions that become impossible to ignore. Take the example of someone like Maya, a therapist who used to ignore her instincts during client consultations. She'd pick up on red flags, overly charming behavior, exaggerated victimhood, but brush them off, believing she was being too judgmental. Over time, she realized that ignoring these subtle signals only led to deeper issues. So she started trusting her inner knowing. She learned to tune into the energetic field just as much as the spoken word. Her work improved, her energy stayed protected, and her clients benefited more deeply from her presence. This isn't just emotional intelligence, it's energetic integrity. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." That's exactly what you're doing when you honor your intuitive insight. You're bringing unconscious truths into the light, not just for yourself, but for the people around you. It's not about being suspicious. It's about being awake. You don't owe anyone an explanation for the distance you create. You owe yourself peace. You don't need to justify why you walk away from people who drain you. You've already felt the answer. Your boundaries are not barriers. They're filters, letting in only what aligns with your path. You're not here to be liked by everyone. You're here to move through the world with eyes that see beyond illusion, a mind that processes beneath the surface, and a heart that chooses energy over appearance. This is the strength of intuitive introverts. And this is what makes your quiet power unshakable. Do you sense the truth before it's spoken? If this resonates, declare it in the comments. I trust my gift of awareness. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more insights that honor your intuition and energy. Chapter 8. You question everything, even yourself. You question everything. Your thoughts, your choices, your emotions, and even your own identity. This is not a flaw. It's the silent fire of awakening. While the world may label it as overthinking, you know it's something deeper. It's the quiet urge to peel back layers of illusion and find the raw truth beneath. You don't settle for surface explanations. You dig, you unravel, and you deconstruct until what remains is real. This urge is not random. It's the sign of a soul that refuses to be fooled, a mind designed to see through the noise. You are not afraid to sit with discomfort. You choose truth, even when it shakes you. While others seek comfort in inherited beliefs, you strip them away, one by one, asking, is this mine, or was it handed to me? You'd rather face the sting of clarity than live inside a lie. This is the spiritual path lonely, yes, but honest. You're not just peeling back layers of personality, you're reclaiming your essence. And in doing so, you begin to hear your own voice again, the one that was buried under years of conditioning, guilt, and fear. You replay conversations, analyze silences, trace the energy behind words. You sense what's unspoken. And though others may think you're too intense or too sensitive, this is your strength. This is your pattern recognition, your intuition tuning into the invisible signals that others miss. Carl Jung called it introverted intuition, an unconscious radar that perceives truths long before they become visible. You're not just aware you're awake. Your thoughts are not noise, they're revelations. Your self-questioning is not weakness, it's a sacred refinement of your path. You live in a state of ongoing alignment. You examine not only your external world, but your inner reactions to it. You notice when something feels off, when energy shifts, when your spirit contracts. This constant checking in, this quiet listening, is spiritual wisdom in motion. You are not seeking to control the world, you are learning how to stay true within it. And with every truth you uncover, your energy becomes clearer, your presence sharper. You're being more grounded in who you truly are. This journey can feel isolating, even misunderstood. But the deeper you go, the more powerful you become. Because to question yourself is not to doubt your worth. It's to demand authenticity. To tear away false layers is not destruction, it's rebirth. You are not overanalyzing. You are transforming. You are awakening to a life that is real, raw, and deeply yours. And that, more than anything, is the beginning of true spiritual wisdom. If you've ever questioned everything, including yourself, share one belief you've outgrown in the comments below, so others can reflect too. If you're just beginning to peel back the layers, comment, "I'm ready to wake up," and join us on this journey of awakening. Chapter 9. You've met your shadow and didn't run. You didn't just survive your shadow, you transformed through it. You stood in front of the parts of yourself that once terrified you. The guilt, the envy, the fear, the deep sadness that others couldn't see, but you felt like a storm beneath your skin. And instead of running, you stayed. You leaned in. You chose to feel what most people spend their entire lives avoiding. You made the courageous decision to be radically honest with yourself. And in doing so, you became the container for your own healing. Carl Jung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And you lived that truth. Enlightenment wasn't some floating concept or distant idea. It was the raw process of sitting with your shadow until you understood it. You didn't try to destroy the parts of yourself that made others uncomfortable. You didn't silence your anger or deny your wounds. You allowed the darkness to speak. And when it did, you listened not with judgment, but with compassion. You didn't conquer your shadow by force. You integrated it. You realized that wholeness doesn't mean being perfect. It means embracing what's real. The shame, the mess, the vulnerability, the wild parts of you, they weren't flaws. They were fragments of truth waiting to be seen, waiting to come home. You reclaimed them with tenderness. You no longer needed to pretend. You no longer had to wear the mask. Your authenticity became your sanctuary. Through this deep inner work, your peace became sacred. Not the kind of peace that's handed to you through comfort or external success, but the kind that's forged in fire. The kind that only comes from walking into your own pain and coming out the other side with your soul intact. That is the quiet power of spiritual awakening. It doesn't scream for attention, it radiates. And those who meet you now feel it not just in your words, but in your energy. You no longer need to prove anything. Your stillness speaks volumes. People may not understand why you're different now. They may not recognize the battles you fought in silence, the inner chaos you've alchemized into strength. But that doesn't matter. You didn't walk this path for applause. You walked it to reclaim your essence. And that essence is alive now. It's breathing in the way you forgive. It's pulsing in the way you protect your energy. It's shining in the way you no longer betray your truth to belong. The shadow didn't destroy you. It refined you. It brought you home to yourself. And in that return, you didn't just find clarity, you found spiritual wisdom. Comment below, "I've faced my shadow and claimed my peace," if you're ready to honor the transformation that made you whole. Let your courage inspire others on their journey. Chapter 10. You feel others' pain as your own. You're not just someone who notices emotions, you become them. When others suffer, you don't simply observe, you absorb. If you're an INFJ, that pain finds a home in your heart, often before the other person even speaks a word. You sense sadness behind forced smiles, hear loneliness in cheerful tones, and without effort, your soul leans in to carry the weight they cannot. You've likely been called too sensitive, but in truth, your emotional radar is a sacred gift. You are designed to feel deeply, not as a flaw, but as a divine tool for healing in a world that has forgotten how to feel. If you identify more with the INTJ side, your empathy moves differently. It isn't always expressed through emotions, but through systems, structure, and solutions. You see suffering and instinctively begin to calculate how it can be prevented. You're the one who looks at emotional chaos and thinks, there's a better way to do this. While others may miss the big picture, you're already 2 steps ahead, designing pathways that reduce pain, inefficiency, and confusion. Your mind is both shield and sword, rational, powerful, and infused with quiet compassion. Beneath your strategic exterior lies a heart that genuinely cares, not through sentiment, but through meaningful action. Carl Jung believed that when 2 souls truly meet, they both transform. INFJs and INTJs are often that mirror for others. Your presence doesn't simply comfort people, it challenges them to awaken. Through your energy, people begin to question what they've been suppressing. You aren't here to fix or rescue the world, but to be a catalyst, a quiet revolutionary that awakens emotional depth, spiritual clarity, and the power of introspection. In daily life, this can feel like a blessing and a burden. You walk into a room and instantly sense unspoken tension. You meet someone and know they're hiding their pain before they admit it. While others float through the surface of life, you swim in the undercurrents. This depth can be exhausting, but it's also your power. It's what makes others open up to you without understanding why. They see you as safe, real, intuitive, and in many ways, it's because you are. Maybe you've experienced moments where someone you barely know starts telling you their life story, or where a friend breaks down simply because you asked, "How are you really?" This isn't a coincidence, it's resonance. You carry a frequency that invites truth, even when it's messy. You were born with this energetic blueprint, not to solve everyone's problems, but to reflect back the parts of themselves they've been afraid to face. This is the essence of spiritual wisdom. It's not loud, flashy, or even always visible. It's the quiet knowing that your presence itself is medicine. Your ability to feel, to see behind the mask, to listen between the lines, that's your magic. And while the world often rewards those who speak the loudest, you are here to remind others of the value of feeling deeply and living authentically. Your sensitivity isn't here to break you. It's here to awaken you, and through you, to awaken others. You're not here to carry the world's pain forever. You're here to help the world remember how to feel again. If you're still here, it means your heart truly feels deeply. Comment below, "I feel to heal," if you resonate with this sacred strength. Your voice matters, and your presence helps us build a more compassionate world. Chapter 11. Your imagination is a portal, not a pastime. Your imagination isn't a form of escapism. It's a sacred intelligence guiding your life. For intuitive introverts like INFJs and INTJs, imagination is the invisible thread connecting the inner world to the outer one. It's where symbols speak louder than facts, and feelings carry more weight than logic. While others are busy reacting to what's already happening, you're tuning in to what's about to happen. You're not just dreaming, you're remembering the future. And every vision that arises in your mind is not random. It's a coded message from your soul. Carl Jung called this process active imagination, a way to communicate with the unconscious through images, dreams, and inner dialogue. For you, this isn't just a theory. It's a lived experience. You may see events before they unfold, sense someone's emotions before they speak, or feel called toward paths you can't explain. This ability to hold space for things unseen is not weakness. It's spiritual wisdom in motion. It allows you to build reality from the inside out, quietly designing blueprints of a better world, while the rest of the world is still focused on what's visible. You practice what can only be called spiritual architecture. Each quiet reflection, each internal vision, each flash of intuitive knowing becomes a brick in the foundation you are building for your life. It's often invisible to others, but deeply real to you. While many rush to act and perform, you are aligning. You're aligning with purpose, with timing, with truth. There's a silent power in this approach, a mastery that doesn't shout, but shapes everything in its path. This is why solitude nourishes you. In silence, your visions become clearer. In stillness, your inner voice grows louder. You don't need to chase meaning outside. You're sculpting it inside. And because of this, your presence carries weight. You walk into a room and shift the atmosphere without trying. Not because of what you say, but because of what you've already seen and accepted within. Your energy arrives before your words ever do. The future doesn't just happen to people like you. It's drawn to you. Because you've already been living it in your mind, nurturing it in your soul. Your imagination is a bridge between now and what's next. And what others call fantasy, you recognize as preparation. You're not making things up. You're remembering truths that haven't yet been spoken aloud. You're translating the language of the spirit into images the mind can understand. So when you catch yourself lost in thought, drifting into vivid scenes and symbolic dreams, don't dismiss it. That's where the power is. That's where spiritual wisdom is born. You're receiving instructions from within architectural plans for the life you're meant to lead. And while the world may call it daydreaming, you know its design. Quiet, intentional, sacred. You are not behind. You are not confused. You are simply building something no one else can yet see. And soon, what exists in your inner world will step fully into your outer one because you honored it first. Chapter 12. You were born to lead quietly, powerfully. You were not made to chase influence. You were born to embody it. This is the quiet truth that defines your presence. You don't have to demand attention or dominate a room to be seen. Your impact comes from the energy you carry, from the calm strength that radiates even when you say nothing. There's a deep power in your stillness, a quiet magnetism that others can feel but rarely explain. As Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." You are living proof that true leadership is the fruit of spiritual awakening, not external validation. You've walked through fire, not the kind that burns skin, but the kind that sears through emotion, identity, and belief. And instead of becoming bitter, you became wise. Instead of hardening, you became more whole. In the silence of your darkest hours, you discovered something sacred. You don't need to control others to guide them. You simply need to know yourself. That self-awareness became your compass, and over time, it taught you to lead, not with noise, but with depth. You hold space for others without shrinking yourself. You listen without needing to speak. You stand firm without having to prove anything. That's the paradox of intuitive leadership. It doesn't require external permission. You give people room to breathe simply by being fully present, and they feel it. Even when they can't name it, they sense the spiritual wisdom in your energy. You move differently because you see differently. Your strength is in your ability to feel deeply and still remain grounded. While others react, you reflect. While others seek power, you seek alignment. And in doing so, you create real influence not through manipulation, but through vibration. This isn't a learned skill, it's a soul gift. And it only awakens through inner work, solitude, and facing yourself honestly. That's why your path has been lonely at times, because your soul was being prepared to lead from a higher frequency. The world may celebrate loud voices and flashy charisma, but you are here to remind others that stillness is power. Your leadership isn't built on titles, it's built on truth. It's in the way you speak only when needed, in the way your gaze sees beyond the surface, in the way your decisions come from purpose, not pressure. Every time you choose integrity over image, you are leading. Every time you choose to be real instead of being liked, you are leading. And that is the essence of spiritual awakening, returning to who you were before the world told you who to be. You don't chase attention. You attract energy. You don't dominate others. You elevate them. That's the power of your presence, subtle but unmistakable. The more you honor this within yourself, the more the world around you begins to shift. You may never be the loudest in the room, but you'll always be the one they remember. Because your energy doesn't just fill space, it transforms it. If this message resonates with your soul, comment below. I was born to lead with grace and power. Let the world feel your quiet strength and never forget, your presence is your influence. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the mind of the intuitive introvert. If something in today's message resonated with your soul, if you finally felt seen, understood, or empowered, know that you are not alone, and your unique way of experiencing the world is a gift, not a flaw. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom, and make sure to turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the powerful insights we have coming your way. Until next time, stay true to your inner world. It holds more wisdom than you know.